You ever strolled out to the chicken coop, egg basket in hand, brimming with hope, only to leave with nothing but a symphony of clucks and not a single egg to show for it? Yeah, those mornings hit differently. It's like the hens decided to unionize for a vacation and forgot to send you the memo. But hey, if it's any consolation, you're not the only one staring down an eggless breakfast. Even the pros, seasoned farmers who've seen it all, find themselves scratching their heads over this mystery. Chickens are quirky little divas after all. One minute they're all about that egg-laying hustle, and the next they're on strike. Sometimes, dealing with them is like trying to reason with a grumpy teenager or, worse, getting a cat to take a bath. Now, here's the scoop. One of the big reasons your hens might slam the brakes on egg production is the shorter daylight hours. Yep, chickens are feathered solar panels. They rely on sunlight to fuel their egg-making magic. So when winter rolls in and the sun decides to hit snooze, your egg supply follows suit. And then there's molting, a yearly ritual where hens shed their feathers like they're trying out for the next season of Project Runway. Coop Edition. Molting is their version of a spa retreat, but instead of a weekend, it lasts a month. During this time, they swap their old feathers for fresh ones, and egg-laying takes a serious backseat. But here's the kicker. It's never just one hen. Oh no. They all band together and molt at the same time, turning your coop into a feather storm while your omelet plans disintegrate. And just when you think it can't get any more dramatic, you discover chickens have standards. High ones. The tiniest hiccup can throw them off their game. A barking dog next door, overcrowded nesting boxes, or even a squeaky coop door. True story. I once had a hen so finicky, she refused to lay until I fixed that squeak. 2 days later, boom, eggs. Royalty, I tell you. I'll admit that I've made some rookie mistakes trying to fix things. One winter, I thought doubling their corn rations would do the trick. Instead of eggs, I got rotund, lazy chickens who acted like they were auditioning for a hibernation special. Lesson learned. Carbs make for fluffy birds, not productive ones. But then there was the time I threw some extra mealworms into the mix during molting season. You'd have thought I'd gifted them golden tickets. They sprinted to the nesting boxes like they had deadlines. Turns out a little protein is the ultimate bribe. Feeding chickens might seem straightforward. Just toss some scraps, right? Wrong. Too much corn or bread, and you're turning your hens into feathered couch potatoes. It's like if you lived off pastries and pasta. You'd feel sluggish too. Hens don't just need calories, they need the right balance of nutrients. Overloading them with carbs is an all-you-can-eat buffet of empty calories. And overweight chickens? Let's just say they're not setting any egg-laying records. Forget eggs for a second. Carrying extra weight is a real burden for hens. It's like trying to run errands after a massive Thanksgiving feast. Sure, you could do it, but would you want to? Hens need energy, but the right kind, the kind that keeps them active, not lethargic. When I first started raising chickens, I thought I was being smart and maybe a little generous by tossing them all sorts of kitchen scraps. It felt good, like I was solving food waste and keeping my hens happy at the same time. And they were happy, pecking away with glee. But then the eggs stopped. At first, I thought it was just a fluke, but weeks went by with no improvement. Turns out, I was overloading them with carbs. They weren't lazy, they were in a full-on carb coma. Once I got wise and switched them to higher protein feeds, the eggs came back, and it was like flipping a switch. Lesson learned. Chickens need fuel, not fluff. Balance is the magic word. A bit of corn here and there? Sure, especially in winter when they burn extra calories to stay warm. But making corn their main course? That's a fast track to turning your hens into feathered couch potatoes. And here's the thing about chickens, they're not subtle. When you get their diet right, they'll let you know. The coop will feel alive again. The hens will strut around like they own the place, and most importantly, the eggs will start piling up. No more sluggish blobs taking a permanent staycation in the coop. But here's a fact most newbie chicken keepers don't think about. Chickens don't have teeth. Yep, these feathery little dinosaurs rely on rocks, to get the job done. Amish farmers have this down to a science. They always ensure their hens have access to grit, tiny stones that act as nature's blender. When a hen swallows grit, it sits in her gizzard and grinds up all the grains, seeds, and scraps she eats. Without it, well, let's just say that food sits there like Uncle Bob after 3 slices of pumpkin pie, completely useless. Better digestion means better nutrient absorption, and better nutrients equal better eggs. It's like filling your car with premium gas instead of the cheap stuff. Either way, it'll run, but you'll notice the difference when you give it the good stuff. Now, not all grit is created equal. This is where the Amish show their expertise. They use insoluble grit, the kind that doesn't dissolve and keeps working meal after meal. Some folks mistakenly use oyster shells as grit. Rookie move. Oyster shells dissolve over time, which makes them a great calcium supplement, but a lousy substitute for grit. That's like swapping out your morning coffee for toothpaste just because both come in tubes. Not the same, my friend. I still remember the first time I introduced grit to my flock. At first, the hens gave me the look, the "what on earth is this nonsense" look. But within a few days, it was like they'd unlocked some ancient chicken secret. Their food wasn't going to waste anymore. They were pecking around with a new energy, and lo and behold, the eggs came back. All thanks to a handful of pebbles most people wouldn't even think twice about. Here's a pro tip. If you let your chickens roam free, they'll usually find their grit. But if they're cooped up for the winter or during bad weather, it's your job to bring the grit to them. And this is why the Amish shine. They pay attention to everything, even the unglamorous details like gravel. Because when it comes to raising chickens, every tiny thing adds up. It's kind of wild, isn't it? The secret to more eggs boils down to a handful of rocks and a pantry raid. But the Amish get it. They understand that happy, healthy hens with great digestion lead to plentiful egg baskets. And let's be honest, nothing derails a morning faster than realizing you're out of omelets. Just like us, chickens need the right mix of nutrients to stay productive. Tossing scraps and corn their way isn't enough to keep the eggs coming. These feathery ladies need their vitamins and proteins in check. That's where natural supplements come in. No lab powders or synthetic junk. Just simple, wholesome remedies, many of which are probably already sitting in your kitchen. Take apple cider vinegar, for example. To the Amish, it's like a power drink for chickens. Just a tablespoon or so in their water per gallon works wonders. It keeps them hydrated, boosts digestion, and fends off sneaky little illnesses that could mess with egg production. It's a gut health spa day in a bottle. When I started adding ACV to my flock's water, let's just say the egg count skyrocketed, kind of like my excitement when I found my first double yolk. And then there's garlic, the ultimate immune booster. Just a clove or 2 mixed into their feed can work wonders. It strengthens their immune systems and makes them too funky smelling for most parasites to hang around. I was worried my hens might be picky about the garlic, but nope, they devoured it like they were prepping for an Italian dinner party. No vampires in the coop so far, either. Herbs are another Amish secret weapon. Oregano and thyme, not just for your Sunday roast. These little green powerhouses are packed with antioxidants, keeping the flock's immune systems humming. Some Amish farmers even swear by parsley, claiming it can encourage hens to lay more. I gave it a shot with my girls, and while I'm not sure it turned them into egg-laying machines, they did strut around like feathered food critics. But let's talk protein, the real MVP during molting season. This is when hens focus all their energy on growing new feathers instead of laying eggs. And they need a serious protein boost to get through it. The Amish rely on commercial layer feed with 16 to 18% protein as the foundation, but they don't stop there. They mix in natural sources like mealworms or black soldier fly larvae for an extra kick. If you've never seen a chicken go after a handful of mealworms, you're missing out. It's like watching a live-action poultry thriller. Feathers flying, worms disappearing, hens scrapping like it's the final slice of chocolate cake at Thanksgiving. But hey, more protein means more eggs, and that's what we're here for. When it comes to egg production, the formula's pretty simple. Feed them well, keep them healthy, and the hens will do their thing. No magic wand is needed. Sure, a cozy nest and a motivational cluck or two might help, but without proper protein, those egg machines quickly turn into freeloading feather balls. The Amish have it figured out. Layer feed is their go-to, but they're not just dumping it into feeders and calling it a day. They tweak the diet throughout the year, especially during molting, when the coop starts to look more like a pillow factory with all the feathers flying. Because in those moments, the hens are putting every ounce of energy into growing new plumage instead of laying eggs. It's a delicate balance, one the Amish have mastered. And when you get it right, those lazy freeloaders transform back into the productive egg layers we all know and love. When it comes to protein-packed snacks, the Amish don't mess around. Mealworms? Check. Black soldier fly larvae? Double check. And boiled eggs? Yep, even those. Sure, it might sound a little strange, like serving hamburgers at a cow convention, but trust me, it works. One time, I scrambled some old eggs for my flock, and they devoured them like kids tearing through a candy stash on Halloween. Before I knew it, they were back in laying mode, and I didn't even have to play motivational podcasts. But here's the thing, the Amish don't rely on pricey, factory-made supplements. Instead, they turn to what's already on hand, extra greens, veggie scraps, and even leftover dairy. It's their way of avoiding waste while fueling egg production. And let me tell you, I'm convinced my hens lay prettier eggs when I toss them kale or clover. Science? Maybe. Wishful thinking? Also possible. But hey, prettier eggs are a win in my book. Variety is another secret weapon. Just like us, chickens get bored with the same old menu. The Amish mix things up by adding black oil sunflower seeds, which are loaded with fat and protein, the egg-laying equivalent of a superfood. One Amish farmer told me, chickens need surprises in their diet, just like people do. And after watching my hens go wild for sunflower seeds, I think they're onto something. Of course, balance is everything. Overdo it with rich treats, and you risk turning your hens into feathery divas who'd rather lounge around than lay. I learned this the hard way after going a little overboard with mealworms. Let's just say my hens started looking more plump than productive. Moderation is key, even when it comes to bugs. The Amish know this balancing act all too well. They monitor their flock's diet, adjust for molting, and keep treats in check. It's not just about tossing feed and hoping for the best. It's about giving the hens exactly what they need at the right time. Get it right, and those eggs keep coming, even in the dead of winter. When it comes to snacks, Amish farmers know how to strike the perfect balance, enough to keep the hens happy, but not so much that it ruins their appetite. Greens like kale, spinach, and lettuce are the top picks, tossed into the yard like confetti at a garden party. And guess what? It works. Happy hens, healthy eggs, and fewer trips to the feed store. Then there are the occasional fruit treats. Apples and berries make their way into the coop like dessert at a Sunday potluck. In moderation, they're hydrating and refreshing, especially in the summer. But go overboard, and you'll regret it. I learned this after a watermelon frenzy one July. My hens were too busy pecking at the juicy mess to bother with their nesting boxes. Lesson learned. Even chickens know how to slack off after dessert. And then there's the surprise MVP. Pumpkins. Not only do the hens love them, but pumpkins also double as a natural dewormer. Every fall, Amish farmers crack open pumpkins and let their flocks go to town, keeping them healthy as winter approaches. Watching chickens dive into a pumpkin is like witnessing a mini autumn festival, hilarious and oddly satisfying. Treats are great, but they'll never replace the cornerstone of a hen's diet. Amish farmers know better than to let snacks overshadow essential nutrients. Think of it this way. If you've ever handed a kid candy before dinner, you know exactly how this story ends. Chickens aren't much different. A hen that's too hooked on treats might start side-eyeing her feed bowl the same way a toddler glares at broccoli. But when the treats are balanced, that's where the magic happens. Healthier eggs, more consistent laying, and hens that strut around like they just scored a gourmet meal. Who wouldn't feel a little smug after indulging in seasonal fruits and artisanal greens? With just a few thoughtful choices, those hens get back to business, laying eggs like it's their 9 to 5. Of course, not every hen can stay in her prime forever. Even the Amish know when it's time to let their feathered ladies clock out. A hen typically hits her productive peak for about 2 to 3 years. After that, let's just say some start eyeing the chicken version of a porch swing. The Amish aren't in the business of running poultry retirement homes, but they also don't believe in waste. Every hen, young or old, serves a purpose. When egg production slows down, and it always does, it's nothing personal. It's just biology. A hen that once laid 5 eggs a week might drop to 1 or none. Amish farmers keep track of this, rotating their flocks like a well-oiled machine. It's not about squeezing out the last egg, it's about keeping the whole operation smooth. Older hens don't just get cast aside, though. Often, they find new life as stew meat. And let me tell you, there's something special about a broth made from a hen that's lived a good, long farm life. I remember when one of my hens, Mildred, stopped laying. She spent her days strutting around the yard like a retired queen. She wasn't pulling her weight anymore, but after turning her into soup, let's just say she gave back most deliciously. That broth tasted like a warm hug straight from a country kitchen. It's not a heartless process, it's practical. The Amish have a way of balancing respect for animals with the realities of farm life. No pampered hen spa days, just honest, efficient living. And believe it or not, even the hens seem to know when it's time to call it quits. There's a certain look they get, like they're over the whole egg-a-day routine and are ready to take it easy. And honestly, who can blame them? If I'd laid eggs for 2 years straight, I'd want a break, too. But retiring a hen isn't just about turning her into soup. It's about keeping the flock productive and healthy all year round. Older hens can bring some challenges, and not just for themselves. Their health issues can stress out the younger ones, and when hens are stressed, eggs become a rare commodity. The Amish, being ever practical, has a solution: gradual rotation. New hens are brought in while the older ones get to enjoy their golden days. Well, weeks, or sometimes just days. It's a simple system: fresh hens in, older ones out. No drama, no guilt. The cycle runs like clockwork, always ensuring there's a young hen ready to step into the nest. It's funny how chickens and people aren't so different. Everyone has a job to do, but nobody can keep working forever. And speaking of jobs, hens are pickier about their work environment than you might think. You'd assume they'd lay eggs anywhere, but oh no, hens have standards. A dirty coop? Not. Amish farmers know this and treat the chicken coop like it's a luxury resort. Regular cleaning, fresh bedding, and zero compromises. And it's not just for show. A clean coop means healthier hens, and healthy hens mean more eggs. Trust me, a sick or uncomfortable hen is not clocking in for egg duty. I learned this the hard way when I neglected my coop for a few weeks. The hens looked at me like I'd booked them a stay at the worst roadside motel. After a deep clean and some fresh pine shavings, though, they were back at it, laying eggs like I'd just earned a 5-star Yelp review. Turns out, chickens are like house guests: keep things tidy and they'll stick around. The Amish are pros at coop maintenance. They don't wait until the bedding looks like a disaster zone. They replace it regularly. Damp bedding is a breeding ground for parasites and bacteria, which can ruin a hen's health and mood. And if one hen gets sick, it's like dominoes. Suddenly, everyone's under the weather. Keeping the coop clean isn't just nice. It's necessary. This whole clean coop philosophy reminds me of my grandma. If the kitchen wasn't spotless, she wouldn't even think about cooking. One day, she saw my messy chicken coop and gave me the same disapproving look she reserved for sticky countertops. After a thorough cleaning, she smiled and said, "Now they'll start earning their keep." And wouldn't you know it, the hens started laying like it was their full-time job. Moral of the story? When in doubt, channel your inner grandma. Winter, however, brings a whole new set of challenges. When the cold sets in, the Amish switch to their secret weapons: warm bedding, insulated coops, and hearty diets. It's not just about keeping the chickens comfy. It's about keeping those eggs rolling in. Hens burn more calories in winter just to stay warm, which can cut into their egg production if they're not properly fed. Amish farmers combat this with a diet rich in protein and fat. Think high-fat grains or kitchen scraps. It's all about giving the hens the fuel they need to keep laying consistently, even in freezing temperatures. If I had a snack every time it snowed, I'd probably be great at egg production too, if I were a chicken, of course. But wait, there's more. You might not know this, but during the winter, chickens need a little extra light to keep things running smoothly. Some Amish farmers get creative with natural light, positioning their coops just right to catch as much sun as possible. Others use light bulbs that mimic daylight, tricking the hens into thinking it's still summer. It's like giving them a mini vacation to the tropics. Now, you might imagine all this pampering makes for one perfect chicken life, but just like us, they still face challenges, even in the best of conditions. Picture a chilly morning when the hens would rather stay in their cozy bedding than brave the cold. That's where Amish wisdom comes in. A tidy, clutter-free coop doesn't just make the hens happy, it keeps them healthy. A clean space means fewer illnesses, and fewer illnesses mean more eggs. But let's be real. Cozy bedding and a clean coop won't do much if the hens are stressed out. When the weather's just right and the environment is on point, it's all about making sure the hens are relaxed and content. Because happy hens lead to happy egg production. And then there's a molting season, the time when hens decide it's time for a makeover. Every year, like clockwork, chickens shed their old feathers to make room for new ones. It sounds like a beauty routine, but the trade-off is no eggs until the feathering frenzy is over. The Amish embrace this process, understanding it's part of a hen's natural cycle. But that doesn't mean they just sit back and wait. During molting, they ramp up the protein in the hens' diets to speed things along. Think of it as a power-up for chickens. Special treats like mealworms or black soldier fly larvae make for a gourmet chicken diet. I'll never forget my first molting experience. I had a flock that decided to molt all at once, and it looked like a pillow fight had broken out in the coop. Feathers everywhere. My kids thought it was hilarious, but I was less than thrilled to find my egg basket as empty as a politician's promises. That month was a reminder that timing is everything when managing a flock. The Amish take it even further, though. Instead of letting all their hens molt at once, they stagger the process. This ensures that while some hens are growing back their feathers, others are still laying eggs. It's like a relay race. One hen hands off the baton to the next, keeping egg production steady throughout the year. And while the hens are busy strutting their new feathers, you just have to remind yourself that good things come to those who wait. If hens had Instagram, they'd be posting their before and after shots all winter long. Now, when it comes to keeping chickens productive, stress management is just as important as feeding them well. Think about it. Would you want to tackle a tough day at work if your boss was yelling at you all day? Hens don't want to lay eggs under stress either. Amish farmers get this, which is why they create a peaceful environment for their flocks. Reducing noise and overcrowding makes all the difference. Imagine laying an egg without someone squawking in your ear or bumping into you. Amish farmers provide each hen with her cozy nesting box, eliminating fights over prime real estate. It's like giving them their little apartments. I learned this firsthand when I expanded my chicken coop. My hens had been cramped, and it showed. But once they had more space, it was like they discovered their hidden talent for egg laying. And if you're skeptical about the importance of happiness in egg production, here's something to consider. Happy hens can produce up to 30% more eggs than their stressed counterparts. Now that's motivation. Of course, a happy environment isn't enough if the hens aren't properly fed. A balanced diet, in addition to a peaceful space, is crucial for keeping the eggs coming. Amish farmers pay close attention to this too, ensuring their hens get the right nutrients to stay healthy and productive. It's all about thoughtful, consistent care. The secret sauce to maintaining egg production is a diet rich in protein and essential nutrients. And while we're talking about chicken nutrition, we'll dive into the specifics of what goes into their meals soon. After all, a hen can't lay eggs on an empty stomach, just like I can't function without my morning coffee. Amish farmers know that keeping chickens productive isn't about quick fixes. It's about steady, year-round care. They focus on creating a peaceful environment, managing stress, and providing a balanced diet to ensure their hens are happy and healthy, no matter the season. With these methods, it's no wonder they can keep their hens lying even through the coldest months. If my hens can lay eggs through winter without electricity or fancy supplements, I must be doing something right. Or maybe the Amish do have the secret to life and eggs. So let's tip our hats to these hardworking farmers and their clucking companions. Here's to a bountiful egg supply the Amish way.